The Mackenzie cuts through pack ice like a rusted blade through old leather, never clean, always grinding. I've been commanding this icebreaker for 11 years, and I still hate that sound. It reminds me of my ex-wife's dental work back when we were trying to save the marriage. Failed attempts to fix something fundamentally broken. The bridge thermometer reads -47 °C without the wind chill, and the bearing I've been watching since Tuesday is holding, barely. Chief Engineer Dimitri swears the Mackenzie has another season in her. Dimitri swears a lot of things. Contact on the emergency frequency, Petty Officer Sarah Greer says from the radio station. She's young, barely 30, and came up through the academy with some kind of certification in Arctic logistics that apparently doesn't exist anymore. Research vessel Fortuna drifting. They're reporting hull compromise, systems failure, and crew medical emergencies. I lean back in my command chair, which creaks in a way that makes me think of my knees. 58 years old, and I'm creaking along with the furniture. Distance? 7 miles. Bearing 045. They're saying water ingress is rapid. The Fortuna. That's the University of Toronto crew, glaciologists, marine biologists, couple of graduate students playing at polar research. I'd seen their arrival reports 3 weeks back. The ship's smaller than ours, built for scientific work, not for pushing through this particular kind of hell. This pack ice isn't normal ice. The latest weather charts show it's actually growing, expanding northward in a way that makes the meteorologists in Halifax sound confused when you call down to them. Get them on visual, I say. An alert medical bay. Full readiness protocol. Sarah's fingers move across the radio equipment with the kind of precision that comes from someone who knows exactly how many seconds between disaster and survival. They're asking about our ETA. Captain Reeves on the Fortuna sounds, well, he sounds scared. I know Reeves. Saw him at a conference in Quebec City 3 years back. He's a cautious man, which means his fear is probably justified. In the Arctic, you earn caution or you earn a memorial service. The bridge windows show the ice field around us, white on gray, stretching to nowhere. The aurora started about an hour ago, pale green light dancing at the horizon like nature's forgotten mood ring. Beautiful and utterly useless. The Fortuna should be visible within minutes from our position. Got them, Greer says. Starboard, approximately 3 miles. They're listing. I move to the navigation window. The research vessel looks wrong in a way I can't immediately place. Not the listing. That's expected with hull compromise. It's something about the color. The hull should be white and research vessel blue, but in the green aurora light, it looks almost luminescent, like someone's painted it with something that absorbs and reflects light differently than it should. Paranoia. Arctic Command gets that way. Isolation, cold, darkness. You start seeing things that aren't there. I'd watch a therapist about it if I believed in therapists, which I don't, mostly because my ex-wife's therapist cost me 30 grand in the settlement. Sound the rescue alarm, I tell Greer. Get the crew mobilized. Medical bay full staff. Prepare the rescue tender. The ship comes alive in that particular way disaster zones activate things. Within 4 minutes, I'm watching crew move across the deck in heavy weather gear, checking equipment, preparing lines and davits. The Mackenzie has done this before. Pulled crew out of collapsed research camps, salvaged fishing vessels, recovered drifters. We're good at this, or as good as anyone gets at snatching people from an environment actively working to kill them. They're reporting 7 crew members aboard, Greer says. Captain Reeves, 2 scientists, 3 graduate students, 1 technician. All present and accounted for, but they say there's significant injury. Unspecified medical emergency. 7 people. That's manageable. We've got space. We've got medical capability. We've got heat and food and coffee that tastes like someone boiled pennies in hot water, but that's still better than freezing. The rescue tender deploys. I watch it drop toward the water, actual water, which means there's a lead in the ice here, a gap the Fortuna drifted into before the ice closed around it like a trap. The green aurora light flickers across the rescue team's suits. Everyone moves with purpose but without panic. That's the difference between real emergency crews and the ones they use in recruitment videos. It takes 43 minutes to pull all 7 crew members from the Fortuna. I time it because timing things keeps my mind engaged and away from the statistical probability of equipment failure at these temperatures. The rescue tender comes back across the lead, bouncing slightly on water that's probably around -2°C. Not actually frozen, but close enough that hypothermia is still waiting like a predator with infinite patience. By the time they're aboard the Mackenzie, I'm in the medical bay. Dr. Helena Vasquez has the place set up like she's expecting casualties from a multiple-car accident instead of a polar research emergency. Helena's been ship's doctor for 5 years, and she's simultaneously the most competent person aboard and the person most likely to complain about the coffee while professionally saving your life. The first crew member through is Captain Reeves himself. He's a thin man, probably mid-60s, and his teeth are chattering so hard it looks like they might break. Thank God, he's saying, and he means it in that broken way people mean things when they've stopped believing God was paying attention, and then suddenly he was. The others come through in sequence. 2 scientists, Dr. Marcus Greer, no relation to Sarah, but I make note of the name anyway, and Dr. Yuki Tanaka. Tanaka's a glaciologist specializing in permafrost, though I'm not entirely sure what you specialize in about something that's supposed to stay frozen, but definitely isn't, based on what everyone keeps saying. The graduate students are triplets somehow. That's unusual enough that I remember it, named Kevin, Logan, and Paige Hollis. They look like they've been compressed into single uniforms. The last crew member is the technician, name of Dorian Okonkwo, who carries himself with the kind of focused calm that suggests he knows exactly how much trouble they were in and exactly how much trouble they're still in. "You're safe," Helena says, and she means it even though technically nobody's safe in the Arctic. You're just safer at different moments than others. Let's get you through decontamination and into warm weather gear. That's when I notice something. The Fortuna crew, particularly Marcus, Yuki, and the 3 Hollis triplets, are moving wrong. Not injured wrong, but stiff-jointed and careful, like they're remembering how to move in a warmer environment. Their skin has a faint discoloration, a paleness that goes beyond normal polar pallor. Medical emergency, I say to Helena. You mentioned they reported medical emergency. Captain Reeves looks at me, and his eyes have that particular quality of someone who's been holding bad information behind their teeth, and now the dam's broken. One of the graduate students, Thomas Everett, he was exhibiting symptoms we couldn't identify. Fever initially, but then hypothermia despite the heating. Neurological symptoms. Then the others started showing similar presentations, but gradually. It was like, he stops, runs a hand through wet hair. It was like his system was adapting to lower temperatures, and something about that exposure was affecting the others. Helena's face does something interesting, a shift from professional care to professional concern. There's a difference. Where's this student now? In the hull, under observation, Reeves says. When the Fortuna's system started failing, the lower sections got cold fast. We kept him down there because, he stops again, because he seemed to improve in colder temperatures. That shouldn't happen. That's not possible. I'm standing on a bridge that's grinding through ice at the bottom of the world, looking at crew members from a research vessel who are exhibiting adaptation to cold that violates every piece of medical knowledge I possess, which admittedly isn't extensive, but includes enough to know when something is fundamentally wrong. Dr. Vasquez, I say, quarantine protocols. Full isolation. Those crew members go through complete medical workup before they interact with my crew. The Mackenzie's medical bay is separated into 3 sections: treatment area, observation ward, and the cold room, which is exactly what it sounds like. Vasquez set it up years ago for studying cold response physiology in extreme conditions. It's never been used for what it's being used for now. I'm watching through the observation window as Helena runs blood work on Dr. Marcus Greer. His sample sits in the analyzer, and I can see the moment the display catches Helena's attention. She leans closer, adjusting the settings, running the test again. That's not, she says, not looking away from the screen. That's not physiologically possible. What? I ask. I'm standing too close, probably, but isolation makes people comfortable with proximity violations. His white blood cells, they're elevated, but not in response to infection. It's like, she adjusts the scope. His immune system is producing a massive amount of cold-resistant proteins. Heat shock proteins, but inverted. Cold shock proteins at levels I've never seen outside of extremophile bacteria. Human blood shouldn't produce this response. Humans don't have this response. Through the next observation window, I can see Dr. Yuki Tanaka in one of the examination rooms. Her skin temperature is running at 34.2 Celsius, which is hypothermia territory, except she's conscious, alert, and seemingly comfortable. Her core temperature is reading as normal, which shouldn't be possible simultaneously with a skin temperature that low. Captain, Sarah Greer says from the communication deck, the University of Toronto is requesting updates on the rescued crew. Also, Environment Canada is asking about pack ice samples. They want data on composition and formation patterns. The ice. Right. Because it's not enough that we've pulled people aboard who appear to be physiologically adapting to cold in ways that violate medical training. The ice itself is wrong. The meteorologists in Halifax have been using words like anomalous and unexplained northward progression and suggest extreme caution. Tell Toronto we're running medical evaluations and will provide updates when complete, I say. Tell Environment Canada to send their requests through official channels, and they'll have ice samples within 48 hours. Yuki Tanaka is moving around the examination room like someone exploring their new apartment. She traces her fingers along the wall, feeling the temperature difference between the heated interior and the insulation. Her expression is clinical, observational, a scientist examining an environment, not a survivor grateful for rescue. She's asking for colder conditions, Helena reports. Not aggressively, just mentioned that she feels most comfortable in the lowest temperature areas. She asked specifically about accessing the cold room or potentially spending time topside in the current weather. Absolutely not, I say. I thought you'd say that, Helena says, and there's something in her voice that suggests she's already considered the ramifications of this situation and found them wanting. Captain, I need to tell you something, and I need you to understand I'm still processing it myself. We move away from the observation windows. The medical bay's observation deck has a small office space tucked behind, where Helena does her paperwork and occasionally drinks coffee that might actually taste worse than the bridge coffee, which seems impossible until you've experienced it. The research aboard the Fortuna, Helena says, was focused on viral adaptation to Arctic conditions. They were studying a particular bacteriophage, a virus that infects bacteria, that they found in permafrost samples from Canadian Arctic research stations. Initial samples suggested it had evolved some remarkable properties for surviving extreme temperatures. I'm sitting down now. This is the kind of conversation that benefits from sitting. They discovered, Helena continues, that the virus had mechanisms to prevent ice crystal formation in infected bacterial cells. Essentially, it was keeping the host organism liquid in environments where it should have frozen solid. But here's the part that matters, Captain. Somewhere along the line, something changed. They think their observation methods might have introduced contamination, or the virus experienced mutation under the environmental stressors they were applying. Whatever happened, it appears to have developed capacity for mammalian cell infection. The cold room makes a particular sound when the cooling system cycles up. It's a sound I've heard for 11 years, but suddenly it sounds different. They were infected, I say. Most likely environmental exposure during their research, Helena confirms. Probably several weeks ago, based on the presentation timeline. The lead researcher, Thomas Everett, showed symptoms first: fever, confusion, progressive neurological disruption. But then it appears the virus adapted further. The other crew members show signs of incomplete infection. The virus is present in their system, but isn't causing pathogenic response. Instead, it's triggering adaptive responses. Cold tolerance, metabolic adjustment. Dr. Tanaka asked me specifically if I'd noticed that she wasn't shivering despite ambient temperatures. Sarah Greer's voice comes through the intercom. Captain, we're getting increased pressure from the Fortuna's sister ship, the Research Endeavour. They're also in the pack ice, about 15 nautical miles northeast of our position. They want to mount a rescue operation. They're demanding coordinates and stating they can reach us in approximately 3 hours. I look at Helena. Any chance we can contain this? Any chance this is just adaptation, not contagion? The virus is airborne, Helena says quietly. Respiratory transmission is how the initial infection occurred aboard the Fortuna. The adaptation means it's not currently virulent, but that doesn't mean it won't become virulent again. That doesn't mean it won't spread to my crew. That doesn't mean it will respond predictably to any treatment protocol we possess. The Mackenzie groans around us as the ice pressure increases. The hull is designed for this, built for this, but there's a limit to how much pressure any ship can handle, and the pack ice has a particular way of finding that limit. Alert Captain Reeves and the Fortuna crew, I say. Full isolation protocols. Nobody leaves the quarantine section without full biohazard precautions. Nobody. Alert the bridge that we're maintaining current course but standing by for new developments. The Research Endeavour? Sarah's voice asks. Put them through. I need to talk to whoever's in command. Captain Dorothy Vance of the Research Endeavour sounds tired and angry, which is a particular combination you hear from people whose day has become significantly worse through no fault of their own. "We need to consolidate our resources," she says. "We've got the Fortuna crew aboard your vessel. We've got research materials scattered between 3 locations, and we've got an environmental situation that's deteriorating. Transferring personnel to a single vessel makes logistical sense." "The Fortuna crew is under medical quarantine," I tell her. "We've identified potential biohazard concerns. I can't recommend cross-ship transfer at this time." There's a pause. Then, "Biohazard? Captain Hunter, they're researchers. They're our colleagues. What biohazard are you referring to?" I look at Helena, who's watching me with the expression of someone who knows exactly how bad this conversation is about to become. "We've identified potential viral contamination with unknown transmission and adaptation characteristics. Until we can isolate the vector and determine transmission protocols, I'm maintaining quarantine." "This is absurd," Vance says, and I can hear her moving, probably pacing her bridge the way I pace mine when bad decisions start becoming inevitable. "You're telling me you're keeping our people in isolation because they might have a virus?" "I'm telling you that the virus appears to have environmental adaptation mechanisms that suggest it was designed or evolved specifically for extreme cold conditions. Your crew members are currently showing physiological changes consistent with successful parasitic integration. I'm not keeping them isolated to be difficult. I'm doing it because I'm responsible for my crew's safety, and right now, your crew represents an unknown biological risk." "Then what's your timeline for determining risk assessment?" "I don't have a timeline. I don't have anything except a cold-adapted virus, 7 possibly infected researchers, an Arctic pack ice that's behaving abnormally, and the grinding knowledge that we're all trapped in a situation where the variables keep multiplying. 72 hours minimum for preliminary viral characteristics analysis. I say making it up on the spot, but making it sound authoritative. After that, we can discuss appropriate protocols for consolidation or separation based on test results." 72 hours means we're locked in this ice for 4 days at minimum, Vance says. "The research endeavor wasn't built for extended pack ice residence. We've already taken on water twice. Our hull integrity is compromised, Captain Hunter. We don't have 72 hours. The ice pressure increases again. I feel it through the hull, through the floor, through my bones. The Mackenzie is stronger than the research endeavor, built for this punishment, but even we have limits." "What's your current water ingress rate?" I ask. "About half a meter per hour in the forward compartments. We've got pumps handling it so far, but our chief engineer doesn't think we'll hold more than 48 hours before critical systems are threatened." I'm looking out at the ice field through the bridge window. The aurora is brighter now, more green, almost turquoise in places. Sarah Greer is standing near the communication station, ready with updates or problems, probably preparing for both simultaneously. "Captain Vance," I say, and I'm choosing words carefully now because they matter. "I'm going to make you an offer that sounds worse than it is. I'm going to send Dr. Vasquez over to your vessel with portable analysis equipment. She can conduct preliminary viral workup on your crew, and if the results are negative, we can reconsider evacuation procedures. If they're positive, we'll work from there. But I cannot consolidate vessels without understanding what we're consolidating." Silence. Then, "How long will the analysis take?" 24 hours for basic characterization." "Fine. Send your doctor. We're running on borrowed time anyway." The connection closes. I'm standing in a ship made of steel and human compromise, surrounded by ice that's expanding northward against every weather prediction, and the only competent person available to investigate a potential pandemic is Helena, who's probably going to spend the next 24 hours on a ship that's slowly filling with seawater. 41 hours after Helena departs for the research endeavor, the temperature aboard the Mackenzie drops by 7 degrees Celsius. No ice pressure, no mechanical failure, no logical reason. The ship's heating system is running at full capacity, and somehow we're still losing heat at a rate that doesn't match any calculation in the engineering manual. Dimitri stands in the engine room, covered in oil and confusion. The coolant isn't compromised, he tells me over the comm system. Everything's reading normal, but the ambient temperature keeps dropping. It's like the ship itself is radiating cold instead of maintaining heat. I'm standing in the quarantine section, watching the Fortuna crew. They're not agitated, not sick, just moving slowly through the observation rooms like they're becoming accustomed to something. Marcus Greer is sitting on the floor in the corner of his designated space, completely relaxed, while the temperature gauge reads just above freezing. They're producing it, I say, and I'm talking more to myself than anyone else. The virus. They're not just infected, they're generating some kind of cold phenomenon. The virus isn't just adapting them to cold, it's adapting the environment to them. Yuki Tanaka stands up and walks to the observation window. Her skin is pale, almost translucent in the harsh fluorescent lighting. When she breathes, her exhalation creates frost patterns on the glass immediately. This wasn't the intended outcome, she says, and it takes me a moment to realize she's talking to me, that the window between us isn't actually preventing communication. The virus was supposed to be studied in controlled conditions. We were investigating its mechanism for preventing ice crystallization in bacterial cells. We weren't supposed to. She stops, and there's something like grief in her expression. We weren't supposed to become the medium. The observation room speakers are active. I could ask her questions, but I'm not sure what questions matter anymore. What happens next? I ask. It spreads, she says simply. Through respiration. Through contact. Through any weakness in containment. It's not trying to kill us anymore, Captain. It's trying to optimize us. We're the vector now, and the virus is improving our capacity to survive. Every cell in my body is being rewritten to function in progressively lower temperatures. Eventually, we won't need heating. Eventually, we won't need much of anything except cold. Sarah Greer's voice comes through the intercom. Captain, Dr. Vasquez is requesting emergency extraction from the research endeavor. She's saying conditions are critical. She's saying the crew is showing advanced symptoms of viral adaptation, and they're losing structural integrity on multiple decks. She's saying we need to establish a perimeter around that vessel. The Mackenzie moves through the ice with grinding certainty. The hull groans, and I understand for the first time that the ship is cold because the ice is cold, and the ice is cold because something fundamental about this region has changed. The virus has distributed itself through the ecosystem somehow, probably through water samples, through ice cores, through the research materials aboard the Fortuna that's now drifting like an open grave behind us. I authorize Helena's extraction. The rescue tender deploys again, bouncing across ice that's thicker than it was when we arrived, frozen with a particular kind of solidity that suggests permanence. When Helena comes back aboard, she's shaking but not from cold. She's wrapped in emergency blankets anyway because protocol is protocol, but her eyes are what I'm watching. 7 out of 8 crew members on the research endeavor are infected. She tells me in the medical bay. Thomas Everett, the one who showed symptoms first on the Fortuna, his biological state is barely human anymore. His cellular structure is almost entirely transformed. He's not producing heat. He's absorbing it, concentrating it, then radiating it back out at specific temperatures. He's like, she stops, searching for language that doesn't exist. He's like a biological refrigeration unit, except it's not waste byproduct, it's intentional. Directed. The virus is teaching them how to metabolize cold the way normal humans metabolize food. The research endeavor? I ask. The captain is preparing to scuttle the vessel. They can't contain the spread, and they can't maintain structural integrity. All crew that aren't already severely infected are in the process of evacuation. The temperature aboard the Mackenzie has dropped another 3 degrees. I can see my breath in the bridge, and the windows are developing frost patterns despite the heating system's best efforts. Sarah Greer is sitting at the communication station with her jacket wrapped around her shoulders. Her skin has taken on a very slight discoloration, pale, almost blue-tinted, and when she looks at me, there's something uncertain in her expression. Captain, she says, I need to tell you that I was one of the personnel who helped unload research materials from the Fortuna before we understood the situation. I was probably exposed. I noticed about 6 hours ago that I wasn't shivering despite the cold, and I felt like it was right somehow, like the cold was supposed to be there. I'm looking at Sarah Greer, and I'm thinking about crew liability, medical protocols, infection vectors. And underneath all that, I'm thinking about how her career just became something other than a career, how her future is now something the virus has decided it will be. Medical bay, I say. Full workup, and then you're under observation with the others. The Mackenzie is dying slowly, which is better than dying fast, but worse than not dying at all. The heating system is barely functional anymore. The refrigeration units that Helena uses for medical supplies have started working in reverse. They're radiating cold now instead of circulating it. The entire ship is becoming a heat sink, a place where warmth comes to be consumed. 60% of my crew is showing symptoms. Full transformation happens in stages, and we're watching the progression like scientists studying their own doom. First comes the adjustment, no shivering despite freezing temperatures. Then comes the sensory shift. The cold feels right, comfortable, like finally arriving home. Then comes the physical transformation, skin paling, metabolism adjusting, cellular structures rewriting themselves. I haven't shown symptoms. I'm still shivering, still maintaining normal body temperature, still human in the ways that matter medically. I don't know if that's luck, or if it's because I haven't been exposed, or if it's because some people are just resistant to viral integration. Dmitry hasn't shown symptoms either. He stays in the engine room, maintaining systems that keep failing, refusing to come to the medical bay despite my orders. We can't stop this, Helena tells me. The medical bay is so cold now that I can see ice crystals forming on the inside of the walls. The virus doesn't have pathogenic motivation anymore. It's past the infection phase. It's in the optimization phase. Our crew members aren't dying, they're changing. Their bodies are finding new equilibrium at temperatures that would kill uninfected humans. What do you want me to do? I ask. Stop fighting it, she says, and there's resignation in her voice. We're the anomaly now, Captain. The infected crew are adapting perfectly to the Arctic environment. They're not suffering. They're becoming something suited for this. We're the ones who are suffering, trying to maintain a human standard in a world that's fundamentally cold. Thomas Everett is in the observation ward now. His skin is nearly translucent, and I can see the cellular patterns beneath. Structures that are no longer quite human, ice crystals suspended in biological solution, maintained in liquid state through mechanisms that shouldn't be possible. He looks directly at me through the observation window. The pack ice is growing, he says, and his voice is strange, layered like multiple frequencies speaking simultaneously. We're accelerating its formation. Our bodies are seeding crystallization patterns across water for miles. Eventually, this entire region will freeze. The virus is completing its evolutionary cycle. We were always meant to facilitate environmental change. The Arctic needed something to help it spread, and we're perfect vectors. You're infected tissue, I say. You're not making decisions. Neither are you, Thomas says. You're just pretending. The virus in your crew has already decided what comes next. I'm simply accepting what's already determined. The radio crackles. It's Captain Vance from the Research Endeavor, and her voice is layered like Thomas's, multiple frequencies, something that was human but isn't quite anymore. The scuttling is complete, she says. The Research Endeavor is sinking. Most of my crew was already transformed. We've abandoned ship, and we're sheltering on the ice. Captain Hunter, the ice is supporting us. Our body temperatures are so low that we're not causing melting. We're walking on water frozen in mid-transformation, maintained by our presence. It's beautiful and terrifying and completely inevitable. I'm alone on the bridge now. Sarah Greer is in the medical bay. Dmitry is in the engine room, still maintaining systems. The rest of the crew is gradually transforming, becoming something suited for permanent Arctic residence. Chart our course, I say, and I'm not sure who I'm talking to. The automated systems, maybe. Or just the cold itself. Due north. Full speed. I want to see how far this goes, how complete this transformation becomes. The Mackenzie continues pushing through ice that's thicker than it should be, colder than it should be. The pack ice formation is accelerating northward, spreading across water, creating solid ground where only water should exist. I'm going to die here, I think. Or I'm going to transform here. Or I'm going to become something caught between human and adaptation, frozen in mid-change, conscious through every impossible moment of becoming something other than what I was designed to be. The aurora flickers above us, green and blue in colors that don't have names, dancing across ice that's expanding across the Arctic, spreading northward toward the pole itself. In the observation ward, Thomas Everett stands perfectly still. His eyes are closed. His skin is solid ice now, crystalline structures visible throughout his body, maintained in liquid state through mechanisms that science can't explain. Behind him, the other transformed crew members are beginning to move in synchronized patterns, a collective organism operating on principles I can't comprehend. The virus isn't killing us. It's remaking us. And the ice keeps spreading northward, expanding like intent, reshaping the Arctic with every transformation, every adaptation, every human body that becomes something suited for permanent zero-degree existence. I wonder how far north it will go before something stops it. I wonder if anything will stop it. The Mackenzie grinds forward through pack ice, and I stand alone on a bridge surrounded by cold that's no longer the enemy, but something closer to the inevitable.